February, Pokemon held its largest in-person tournament in Europe, and I was in London to watch it live. Here is my experience of this 3-day event from the Pokemon Center, Esports, and the city it was in. I may be a little bit biased since I did go to London for university. I think this is probably one of the best cities for the event to be held in. On day 1, I headed to the Pokemon Center pop-up, and I entered this place with one mission in mind: not the plushies, not the figurines, but the Psyduck sweatshirt. EUIC is basically at the midpoint of the competitive season, and as the largest event to happen since the start of the season, it is also the first place to have a Pokemon Center pop-up. This is where exclusive merch and general Pokemon Center merch will be sold. They did not have this at EUIC, and I must admit I was a little bit disappointed by that. For this season, the theme is around the different Ogerpon sets, and for EUIC, it's also including Psyduck. Physical Pokemon centers are not a thing outside of Japan and Singapore, so having these Pokemon Center pop-ups are a great way for customers to be able to see the items in person and generally do very big damage to your wallets. Let's take a look at what the venue looked like inside the competitive area. The competitive season is held across 4 different games: the video games, trading cards, Go, and Unite. Day 1 for all the games is Swiss rounds, where players' progress to day 2 is determined on the results they play against a fixed amount of players on the first day. In Unite, the Swiss round is known as the group stages, in which all the teams participating are divided into groups, and the top 2 groups proceed to day 2. The games on day 1 are split between the main stage and the B stage, with not all games being streamed, so I spent half of my time squinting at a very small monitor trying to watch the games. Although I did notice in this event they've gone a little bit fancy, the monitors are now curved as opposed to just being flat across. In all honesty, day 1 is probably the longest day for all the competitors, as you're competing against basically everyone who signed up for the event. But on day 2, that's when the day gets really exciting for the spectators. The very special thing of LAN events, especially as a spectator, is to see the amount of energy that the crowd has in cheering for the team they are supporting or the home ground advantages that the different regions have. And the energy was definitely displayed in the very last match of day 2, which was the LG versus Komai set. If you haven't watched it, I've linked it here. I think this is probably one of the best set of 5 that I have ever watched in the history of Unite, and I've been watching since the very start, back in the first year. But unlike the competitors who are definitely feeling an immense amount of stress, I got to enjoy the energy of the crowd. Day 3 is known as Championship Sunday and is basically where the finals of all the games take place. This season is the first time that Unite has been featured on Sunday, and as the first event of the day, I was at the venue at 9 AM. The journey to the finals was a script that couldn't have been written any better. The finals were LG, 2-time world champion, winner of LAIC, against Peru Unite, who was formerly known as Fusion, but won EUIC the year before. And since Unite was basically over at this point, with all the competitors and spectators of Unite being freed, I thought, as someone who has lived in London for a decent amount of time, it was my turn to play host. And to me, as an Asian, the best food in London is found in Chinatown, located in central London, Soho area. A place that I cannot recommend enough, and a place that I'll always visit and tell everyone to visit as well, is Noodle Inn, located in Old Compton Street. Noodle Inn has great portion sizes with very authentic Chinese flavor. So the way I see it is basically an Asian dish, but with Western portion sizing, which is basically the best of both worlds. The bright red color of this dish can be very intimidating, but is deceptively not very spicy actually. Most of it is just for flavoring, and complements the rest of the vegetables well, along with enhancing the chewiness and flavor of the thick belt noodles. In-person events for Pokemon are very special because it's probably the only time that I get to see a lot of my friends in the sphere, and being able to explore a new city or very familiar city in the case of London is always something that's really fun to do as a big group of friends. I haven't been back to Axel since Worlds 2022, which was the first event that took place there. But I can't help but admire the great amount of side events that were present within the venue itself, and more things that families could do if they weren't as interested in competing or spectating the esports. I even saw a section for Pokemon yoga, so I guess if you need a bit of a stretch after competing or sitting in the chair for too long, that's a sport for you as well. The amount of energy that the crowd had for the various games and the different storylines that come out of it is always something that makes each event very special, especially leading up to the World Championships in August, which is located in Anaheim, California this year.